It is small because this is only 100 square feet. So this is a full queen size bed and still enough room to walk all the way around. A bunkie is a bit of a term of endearment for a bunkhouse, and that's very much a Muskoka term. And Muskoka is a really nice sort of cottagey lake area about an hour or two north of here. That's one of the reasons why we called it the Bunkie and called our company the Bunkie Company, because there's a really good market for that there, because it's really difficult to get changes to zoning and permits up in that area. Oh, if I can go head to toe here, because I'm about 6'3". Oh yeah. This is good. It probably feels better on here though.
So it's just your size?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to hit a minimum?
Right. Yeah.
And nothing more?
Nope. That's it. Just push the boundaries of the sort of permit law, but add a ton of functionality that might not otherwise have been thought of in this size of space. I do a lot of small space furniture, storage, things and whatnot. So like this is the largest scale that I would do, because like literally you can have a hand in everything in this and still control it. So yeah, so these are just like pull-out drawers. So if you're staying for a weekend, friends or family could just bring their own things. This is an ethanol burning fireplace, although he doesn't necessarily use that because he's got this AC and heat unit. And we use this as like a little LED system. So you can build this completely no permit off grid with this light system, because this is just a 12-volt LED light system that comes with a little driver. We have these small valves that are up top. So if you do leave for extended periods of time, you open those up, and that allows some air circulation, because often in bunkies or small cottage or camps, if you're left for a long period of time, you get the dampness. We have also screened awnings that you can open here. So you'll be able to move airflow as well. And there's a roller blind or a roller screen here. There are lots of bugs in this area. And then there's also blinds, these roller blinds that we have custom made as well. So it is a big window, so it can let a lot of light in, and it can let a lot of heat in. So in the times when the sun is hitting the window, you can lower these blinds. And also for privacy as well. It's considered a blackout blind, but it doesn't completely black out because you've got the space up top. The glass wall is so critical to enjoying such a small square footage, such a small amount of space. So letting as much of your outside environment inside. Often with small cabins, you have just a few windows and a door. What we wanted to develop was a product that you could feel secure and safe in, and put in the middle of a beautiful surrounding or setting, and be able to sleep or stay within it and really experience it. My background is furniture design. I'm an industrial designer. And I met an architectural designer probably 6 years ago, and we wanted to work on a project collaboratively. So we thought, what could we do that blends architecture and furniture? A lot of things factor into where furniture starts or architecture stops. It has to do with scale, I believe, and also sort of the limits of the machines that you're using. Even the structure, everything is furniture based. So the walls and the floor and the roof are CNC-cut parts that are machined to a very high tolerance the way furniture is done. The idea of being able to bolt this together, the way that the floors and the walls and things bolt together, and even the connections that we're using that make it extremely strong, we use the term torsion box. We're actually creating something that's 2 or 3 times stronger than a traditional stick frame build. So it's what I would call digital architecture or digital construction. So every single part's cut on a machine and snapped together like a puzzle. So if somebody was to look at that from a code standpoint, they would say that doesn't fit the mold, but that's what we're trying to push. We're trying to push something different. Hey. Okay, it's just a factory with a bunch of people doing a bunch of different things, so it's nice. Nobody bothers us. We're just off on our little corner. We can work away. This is like a little, just like the Bunkie, it's small. You really don't need a whole lot if you use digital fabrication. So this is a 3-axis CNC router. they're common everywhere. These have been around for 30, almost 40 years. One second. Really, really great tool. And even producing furniture and things for stores and other manufacturers out of here. Yeah, these are some projects that I've learned a lot about joinery over the years. This is something that I'm going to bring back, but it's a central hub. So the back and the leg and the seat all connect in the middle, as opposed to in a traditional sense. So I've done a lot of experimenting with a joinery to kind of get to where we are now. So this is another example of joinery, overlapping components and using some traditional aspects and then blending them together. So this is part of what inspired how the Bunkie works. So you would press that in place, clamp it and glue it, and that creates a really strong corner joint. Yeah. This is the Bunkie structure, the next one that we're going to be building right now. So it's all designed in CAD. All the tolerances and all the joinery and everything is predetermined. And then these parts are all flattened out into sub-assemblies. These are smaller chunks of the Bunkie itself. And that's what we do here. We take all these individual parts and we knit them together. We use glue and staples, and then we create these parts, and that's what we put on the pallets, and that's what gets shipped to the site. And then we're able to assemble those all together. So it's just like building furniture that I would. So I do a lot of furniture that is upholstered, like that chair in the corner there. And I'm using all the same materials that I would, but on a larger scale. So you put glue, and then you bring them together, like that. So they're little staples, but all it really does is allow the plywood to stay in place until the glue bond is there, and that's the strength. So this is the notch right here, and this is the tab. What makes it interesting is the notches and the tabs and how everything interlocks like a big puzzle. That adds to the strength, and it also prevents error. There's only really one way that you can put the parts in, as long as you follow the drawings and look at the numbers. Over here as well, you have these overlap joints. So you'll have another part that will come into place with holes as well, and then overlap and then bolt through one another. So you have the strength of different surfaces butting up against one another, and then lap joints. So that's another big part of what makes this really strong. So there's lap joints to strengthen the corners, and then wherever these sections come together, there's bolts all here. Those little cutaways in the drawing, that's where you can reach in and actually bolt. So everything is bolted together. Ideally, you work in a linear way. You put the floors together, then you put the walls together, and then you put one roof, one next to one another, and everything bolts to itself. Typically, you'll have a stud frame built, and then they'll add the sheathing to the outside. So a lot of the strength is in the stud. But in this case, a lot of the strength also comes from the sheathing, because the tab that's locked into the notch allows strength and stress to be distributed throughout the entire structure. That's what creates what I, again, was calling a torsion box in a really, really strong structure. So this gives you another idea of what it is. It's not like people would say like a Tinker Toy or Lego. I mean, you can use those as references, but we design the connection each time. So it's not necessarily a Lego in a sense of it being linear, like stacking. But it's the puzzle-like nature of it and how it locks in with one another, so the tabs and the notches. So when it's a really high tolerance and the parts are cut correctly and they fit into one another, these joints create super strong joints. You can see where the notches and the tabs are. Right? So right there. Okay. So you see the similarities in this. And you can also see the similarities in the Bunkie construction as well. So you're utilizing different aspects of the structure to create support where otherwise you wouldn't. So you're looking at structure everywhere, from the sheathing to the interior panels, even the inside panels, they have those details in them and they're pushed up onto the wall and screwed in, so they also create strength.
So the idea is you want the Bunkie to be something people can put together on their own.
Yes. But I wouldn't say if you had never ever touched a wrench that you should go ahead and put a Bunkie together. Even just based on the scale, from what I've learned, you still need somebody who has some building knowledge. Ultimately, I think people still want turnkey here, but to get it to the next level where you could literally put it together as easy as IKEA furniture, I just think the scale of anything that you're going to live inside is a little bit too risky for that, because anything can happen, right? Ideally, what I would like to do with this is find those other individuals that have seen what we've done over the last 5 years and realize that it's working very well and create those little manufacturing hubs. Just nice, simple little spaces that are self-sustaining, make decent margins, and are able to create real products in North America. That's what I want. So this one is the Premier. This is the first one that we launched with, and we were having fun with it and creating sort of this iconic look where we had the chimney integrated into the design. And it was a really complex, design or engineering problem. You can't really do that with a stick build because of the angles and the changes, but you can do it with that overlapping plywood joinery. So it was a way to showcase and start the company. This was the original idea, was to have nothing obscured on your sightline. So if you had a cottage and there's not a whole lot of room and you wanted to put a bunkhouse, you could put it between you and the water because this wouldn't be an obstruction per se. So the more we built this one, the more people were saying, well, we really love that. We would prefer to have a bit more privacy. It was almost, so we started adding the back wall in, and then this became 90% of what we sell because of the square-like nature of it. This feels cozier. So now we found our sweet spot. So we went through this evolution of designing something really cool that got people's attention, and then something more practical and functional.
Can you have a kitchen in here? Could you have more?
That's probably 80% of what people ask us about, because they want to try to make it a tiny house, and that's in that realm. You can't really hear no, because if it's a no permit space in Canada, you're not technically supposed to put plumbing in it. But in the US, you can do that. You can do up to 200 square feet. I think the rules are based around they don't really want people living in them. So this one required a permit. It's essentially an extended version. It's about 300 square feet, but the same footing, the same foundation, but it had a 2x6 structure that we made, sort of like a hybrid between what we're doing and what traditional contractor would do on site. So this is still technically called prefab because we prefabricated it in the shop, but we don't tend to do too many of those. It becomes a lot more expensive because of the permitting and the trades and the change. Once you start adding everything to it, it becomes expensive just like a house. And again, people think prefab and they want a very finite fixed cost, which is fine because you can do that. But this changes everything. So we've really stuck to this blueprint, which is these models. This is our standing seam steel that's custom made for us. It's roll formed. There's 12, 15 different colors. And we have each one of these panels attached with clips. So you start from the top, you screw these clips, maybe 5 per section, 5 on the roof, 5 on the wall, screw them down, and you put the panel in place, and then you put the caps on top here, and then you put another panel in, and then the caps on top, and then so on and so forth all the way to the end. And to give that really clean look, those clips have barbed teeth on the underside, and we use these seam caps, and they just hammer on top, and it covers everything off, so you have no exposed fasteners or anything, which gives it a really nice look. There's definitely customization that we brought to the Murphy bed, but we like to buy as many things as we can. Like this curtain wall is available all over the world. This type of metal cladding is things that can be fabricated in California or Australia or in Toronto. The idea is, as a blueprint, could be transported in different places. This is actually a modular system, so you can mix and match. So you can have this open shelf and all 4 zones here, or you could have this half door bottom and top, or this could be all open, or this could be a TV. That's where we customize. We keep the shell the same and we use the same materials, but we do offer that as a customization. The walls, the bed, and the furniture is all made from the same material. Even when we build these, we use the same piece of plywood, so you can still get the same vein line through the plywoods. And we love C or a B grade plywood. It's usually used for the interior of kitchen cabinets, but it has all this crazy wormy natures and knots and vein lines and things that we love because it's more authentic to what real wood is. And we do have some of these little screws showing, because this is a modular building, so if for some reason this gets damaged or the wall gets damaged, you can take these out and put them back in, because this is a product that gets bolted together that you still see that. This is an example of the types of projects that we're getting into now. where you have, you know, 1, 2, 3, or 4 different bunkies in a like a pod-like setting, because we were talking about not really being able to have running water or toilets in there. So the idea is you have your main service building where you have your kitchen and your bathroom and any of the utilities, and then people can go off and stay in their own little sort of private area. And this is part of that glamping phenomenon that's really taking hold, because I think with a connected environment and a constant bombardment of emails and work, people more and more now, and maybe the slightly younger generation, is looking to completely disconnect whenever possible. So we're finding a lot of traction in this market. Stats Canada? That's a read for me. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is us, not to sound unprofessional, but is us having fun too. I mean, this is something that we started in our part-time, just wanting to do what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. So that's probably what I love about it the most. I'll turn this one back on.